go.
As we talk before stream, it cracks me up because, like always, we prep for these things. We're cracking up because Gowry makes this beautiful comment, and then we all realize that we all do the same thing. If you're going to Defcon and you're packing, you don't need to bring any hardware-related things because you have a Gulo. He brings giant Pelican cases, him and Bunny as well, filled with every piece of hardware you will ever need. So if you're thinking about going to DEF CON, if you go to DEF CON, you don't even need to watch the rest of the stream. Just rely everything on Gulo. He loves it. Right there.
Y'all suck.
Yeah.
It is so true though. I don't think you've ever had you've not had a single component I need, and it's like, hey, I need a Mercury switch for this. He's like, 1 second, what size do you need? It's like, how do you have these things? So we're getting together today. We are talking about travel gear, and it seems like a beautifully topical. Thank you, Gator. Great Gator had this idea last night. So while we had plans, we switched them all because we realized when you travel to DEF CON, personal, family, there's always like a few things you need. And some of it requires setup you do beforehand. Like when you go into like a VPN or WireGuard or getting back into your network. You got to do some setup. So we're gonna talk about that right now. But it also works out because Gowry, where are you right now? Or is it undisclosed?
I am. It's an undisclosed location. No, I'm with family right now, so managed to pull aside a private room. Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Belated, obviously, but yeah. I had to think about that for what I was taking traveling, and normally I don't even take a laptop these days, especially if it's personal travel, because my phone is usually good enough as a computer. Although I will say something I've added to my travel kit is my short guitar.
Really?
Yeah. My new guitar actually fits in an overhead, even on like regional flights like Southwest and JetBlue. So I tested it going up to Vermont once, and since then I'm like, man, I'm taking this thing everywhere.
At what point does it become a ukulele? Like, how short can it go before it just turns into one? Or is there a difference between?
Ukuleles only have 4 strings. At a certain point, I think there's a Spanish guitar that has 5 strings and is like somewhere between a short guitar and a ukulele in size. But I don't know at what point that becomes the thing. I think it's the number of frets. My guitar has the correct quote unquote number of frets, and it has a small body, so it has the same neck length, but it's shorter on the low, on the body end.
I find that like this conversation is going to be an interesting one because I used to travel a ton, and now I don't really travel all that much. And Gowry, I feel like fits in the same as me. Not a ton of travel unless it's like personal. Gator is a unique one where he's I don't really know what he does, but Gulo, I know he travels a lot, and he's all over the place, and he is not in like normal locations. So we're gonna probably be a little all over the place. Gator.
So yeah, I mean, when we're talking about going to DEF CON, let's be honest, we're bringing everything in the kitchen sink. I'm usually about a 4 or 5 hour drive away, so I pack up as much as I can.
And if you're Gulo, you are most likely bringing a kitchen sink or a bidet.
Right? Yes. So along with that, just making sure that you've got things packed and labeled properly. When I go through and travel, even just personally for work or for whatever else, and it's been a bit since I've done this, I usually have quite a few gadgets with me, at least 1 or 2 laptops, whether it's a personal laptop and a work laptop. And then I also set up to where I've got my own kit. So if I'm going to be someplace for a day or two, I can set up my own personal router that's got VPNing, everything going back home, a Chromecast connected back to that router. So then I can go through and cast my own content in the hotel room or spare screen. I pack a spare external monitor. So I'm going to have links to all of that because I found it super helpful. But also having every single type of connection known to man on Earth. So if, hey, we need to be able to hook up to this ancient whatever display. Oh, I have this adapter which hooks to this adapter which hooks. here you go.
I find you have a guy for everything, like, which is great. I have my hardware guy who is Bunny and Gulo, and then I have my connector guy who is absolutely Gator. Where it's like, I don't know, I have to hook these two things together. He's like, well, oh yeah, easy. Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla. Don't waste my time.
Right there you go. Gulo's even got his in clear cases, which is even better.
See, I found
I'm stupid organized.
I found my favorite, like, I actually have this sitting here. My favorite, like, case I ever found for cables. Like, legitimately, I am a bag whore. Like, I have so many bags. But this has been the coolest. It's made by Tom Bin, and it is their snake charmer case. And it's great because it's clear, but it holds so much crap. I love this bag. It's like a snake charmer by Tom Bin. Stupidly expensive, but it's so nice. You can put so much crap in it.
Nice.
Actually, before we get into that, here's a weird one. I know there's a ton of electronics we're gonna get into, but like for me, there's like those weird, like just like Gowrie said, like with his guitar, mine is coffee. I actually have like my coffee kit I bring with me. What do you do?
So if we're doing CAFCON, and that means that we're bringing a coffee pot, we're bringing our own types of coffee, and then we're all sharing about with each other. But when we're out and about on travel, I'm kind of a Death Wish guy, so I usually have something of Death Wish with me to be able to wake me up in the morning. Doesn't matter which time zone that we're in. Usually have an instant pack of that or two in my grab bag just in case. Otherwise, I find some local fresh coffee instead because depending on if I'm hitting the road and need to get to go, I may not have the ability to make my own in the morning. So, and with so many places now stopping to have either no Keurigs inside of the rooms or coffee pots, sometimes a hit or a miss. I get something local.
Yeah, and if I talk, by the way, about my kit I bring to Defcon, this is a theoretical kit. I need to say that because you're not allowed a kettle or boiler or any of that stuff in your room. So this is strictly theoretical. What about you?
Just for CAFCON at a dedicated area,
CAFCON.
right?
It's a dedicated area just for that. Though it was fun. Nikita threw out that there was a coffee competition at Defcon, but it hasn't been around. So there is a good chance it's going to be revitalized this year. Some details pending. So I'm really excited about that. Gowrie, it looks like you're talking, but you might be on mute.
No, I was just moving my camera. I have a little bit of a weak connection, but I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me disowned by Silk. But like when I'm traveling, I actually like the worst, crappiest cup of coffee I can find. Like the local cafe that serves Folgers. I'm cool with that. Like,
no, there's this. You know what? There's there's no disowning because like in one, it's still coffee. But there's like three. I put coffee into like 3 or 4 categories. You have at the top the artisan, like specialty, where they're like, this is the region, here is the process, here is the timing, here is the family name that made the bean. Like, and they're like, and here's the bean. Here, smell the bean. It's like when they bring the plate out at a nice restaurant, and they're like, everyone see the meat before we cook it. That is the artisan coffee. Then you kind of have like, going down from that is like a good cup, but somewhere like around that next category is like that classic diner coffee, like good diner coffee. But on the bottom, I do have a sweet spot for coffee which you can chew. My first job I had to get there. I only had it. It was only 3 months. There's a big story there, but long story short is I had to get there stupidly early. It was an hour. It was like an hour drive, and I had to be there at 7. So I was working at like 5 a.m. And we'd go and we'd make Folgers. But because Folgers is terrible, you would fill the thing up like 10 times as much coffee as you need. It would come out so thick, and you'd have to put sugar and like cream, anything you could to get this thing in you. But yeah, you'd put a spoon in it, let go, and it stays standing. So no, I have a soft spot for that. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
My kit is kind of it's grown. So it's simplified in recent years. I have like this S Pro, which is really fun because in and of itself, it is a French press. Doo-doo.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
Nice.
So
okay.
this is super nice at Defcon because not only can I use the French press when I'm making coffee, but then when I'm done with coffee, I can go into the bathroom, go over to the water thing, rinse it out, and then I can just use this as a water bottle the rest of the day. So that's super nice. But this is when I'm doing carry-on, so I need something smaller. When I'm not doing something smaller and I'm checking a bag, 1 second. Let me show you my coffee kit. First, you need the small boiler. Very, very important. Second, you need an AeroPress. If you don't have an AeroPress, this is like the weirdest story. If you've never seen one of these before, it's made by the same company which makes the Aerobi Air Disc. Like, they make two products. As far as I know, they make two things. They make a Frisbee, but they can't call it a Frisbee. It's the Aerobi, like, flying disc because Frisbee was like a brand. And it's like the round thing which doesn't have a circle in it. And then the guy loved coffee, so I made one of these. And they hold like competitions around this thing. It's like $20. So you got your boiler, you got this. But the most important thing, if we actually talk, if you geek me out about coffee, you know the most important thing is a grinder. And you need a grinder. You need a small travel grinder you can use. Yes, that's about 2 feet long. But we need to make sure it's, you know, it's a good grind. So
I hear that Silk loves grinding.
I do. Gowrie knows that specifically. But it's like a 58 millimeter burr grinder. It's a beautiful thing. The Lido E. It's travel size. Look, it's actually travel size. It's like, it's not even L. It's like, it weighs like 10 pounds. This is terrible. But I bring it with me because it is a beautiful thing. But yeah, that's my tiny coffee kit. But you nice. And then what you do is you fill everything with coffee. So like, I'll still bring a bag. Usually I bring a couple bags to give out to people, but you fill this with coffee. You fill a cup with coffee. You fill it all up. Gulo's looking at me questioningly. You're not allowed to question me on this, Gulo. I have seen the amount of stuff you bring to Defcon. I am justified here.
Yes, but mine is not drugs. You caffeine-addicted pusher.
It could be used for tea, which is that's a thing.
Who drinks that much tea?
People do. Who drinks tea? Period. No, I'll drink it once in a while, but it's mostly just to get more honey in my body.
So honey in or on? Never. Okay, so along the same route here, after you've gone and done your coffee, the other thing that I like to go through and bring, especially if you're going to end up rooming with somebody else, is poopery. It will change you and your partner's life when it comes to sharing a room and not stinking up the bathroom too bloody much, or just saying, hey, no worries about it because you just do a spritz and you're good. Since I have found it about 5 years ago, every single time I have 2 or 3 bottles and I bring with me just because, you know, it just makes it a little bit better when people come and visit.
Is that why that room smelled funny?
That's always why that room smelled funny. It is incredible. It actually works.
My rule on that is you knew what you signed up for. Sorry.
Okay. All right. That's fair, right?
I think the only liquid I bring with me, which is like it's such a standard travel thing, is hand sanitizer. Like I've talked about this before. Like I social distance before it was cool. But I mean, even like sanitizer, that was always hanging on every one of my bags. Like you won't be a DEFCON, like you never. I mean, almost anywhere you go, if it's business, everyone loves. I was a germaphobe. I still am. Not like crazy. I don't like shaking hands. Like we live in an advanced society. I don't need to shake your hand. Like we can have a connection without having a connection. We again. Neither here nor there, but it's really hard to like feel clean after like you've touched like 10 people's hands like on a business trip. So sanitizer was like a nice quick way of doing it without like making it weird, making it very weird.
I still lick my fingers after soldering to clean the lead off.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see me sitting there with a sandwich next to the solder iron as I'm actually like soldering something, letting the bread like be my ventilator, and then taking a bite.
Wait, you actually eat at Defcon? Because I remember having to have the entire hardware hacking village freeze to make sure that you actually ate lunch at like 2:30 in the afternoon.
That was okay. So there were these very nice girls that I was teaching to solder, and they caught me at like 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon eating a breakfast sandwich, saying, "Oh, that's a weird lunch." I'm like, "No, this is my breakfast." How long have you been here? I don't know, 6 hours. How many have you eaten? 3/4. They made everyone stop soldering until I finished eating my damn sandwich.
I have to laugh. It was Pyre was like the most beautiful man I have ever met, because he would show up in the morning with his kids with like jugs of coffee. Like, and coffee's really difficult to come by at DEF CON. Usually the lines are really long, it's really expensive. And we would be setting up the dark neck table, and he would show up, and you wouldn't want any of it to go to waste. So like everyone has already had like, you know, a bunch of coffee, and I'm like, all right, if no one else is going to do it, it'd be like 7-8 hours later, and you're still drinking it. You're like, woo, I'm doing great.
Right?
Oh, it was great.
Happy smile.
Moving on to traveling. I want to pull us back a little bit. Is when you travel, what's some of the technology you bring with you? I think I'll start at like one of the ones I know I didn't know I needed it until I started traveling, and it was the best thing. It was this.
Yes.
There's lots of ways to make them. It's like called an GL iNet. Oh, it's so not gonna. There we go. GL iNet. It's super, super nice. It's a little travel router, but what I love about it is the software on it automatically allows things like WireGuard. So when I plug this in, and there's a bunch of ways you like automatically, and plug my iPhone in and have it tether, and then I have an access point attached to the tether, and then, or if I hook it up through a captive portal on the hotel network, I can push the little there's like a little physical switch, which I like. It's a physical switch, and say enable WireGuard, and now everything that goes to the router is now tunneling back to my house. Or I can push the button and have it switch which one. Flat, like I never think I needed one, but no.
Right? This guy is amazing because it's running OpenWRT, the same thing that runs on the Pineapple, and it's got a small skin from GLINet, but it does WireGuard, it does OpenVPN. They're inexpensive as all hell, and they're pretty small. I mean, like, it fit inside of the palm of your hand, right? Right, and then so you've got one WAN port and then 2 Ethernet ports off the back. So I've got the same one, Silk. I'm absolutely just love the thing, and I use it all the time.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Oh yeah, here's Gula with his too. He has like the little mango one.
Nice.
I have the mangoes, but I now just travel with my Nana box.
Nice.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, these things have been like one of those weird ones where I didn't think I needed it, and then when I had it, it was awesome. Because even things like some of the software I have set up, like I have Plex and I have WireGuard and all of that. So VPN's really important for me. So it's great just to go, okay, plug it in. It's also helped out a ton. Me and Malort, we did the GERCON open source intelligence, and they didn't really have internet you could share. So I was able to plug my iPhone into this, and then I had a nice wireless router, which we had like 10 people connecting up through it, and the connection was solid because we were in 5G and all of that, which was baffling how fast that was. But yeah, these things are like a must, absolutely. And they run, the other cool thing is you can run them off a battery. You can run them off your computer. You can power them from even like the smallest little battery, which is actually powering this tablet, which I'm looking at you on. Yeah, these are fantastic.
They're like $20 too. They're super cheap. You can do all kinds of stuff with them. I remember one year at DEF CON, I brought in a cellular modem, and I set up the Wi-Fi on there at DEF CON so I could use that, but it was like FBI surveillance van 27 or something like that. And everyone, I kept it on, and I had LED lights that would turn on for every person that connected to it. So every time somebody else would connect to it, another LED would light up, and I would just power it off, power it back on, and then I'd just continue to work on it. And I remember there was one time Smitty's like, "Hey, does somebody have internet I can use real quick?" I'm like, "Oh, you can jump on my Wi-Fi thing." And I give it to him, and he's like, "You're the FBI surveillance fan? We've been trying to figure this out and hack this thing all day, but every time anyone breaks into it, it just resets itself." I'm like, "Yeah, just plug it back in."
Oh my God! I didn't realize you were FBI surveillance fan. I see it every year, and I'm just like, I wonder who this is. Of course, it's Hulu. Of course it is.
Wow.
That's one of the funniest ones. Is like Gator usually runs the wireless challenges. In like the weirdest thing, like it's like again, Defcon's a little like homecoming because I mean, that's the theme this year is homecoming, but it's kind of like coming home because you know you get that beautiful feeling when you come back from traveling and connect back to your home Wi-Fi. You go to Defcon, you start seeing like the same Wi-Fi networks, and it's just super weird to me. Like you're like, oh, I recognize a bunch of these. Gator, what are you pulling
the
out?
worst part is
You can trust me.
Yeah, you can trust me. The everybody's using
the
pineapple.
Part is your gear automatically linking back up to Wi-Fi that you connected like 5 years ago. Where you're just like, I don't remember. Wow, this phone is this old, isn't it? It's like last time you connected to this was in 2016. You're like, oh my gosh.
No. You forget those networks as soon as you leave Vegas, guys. Come on. So the other thing that was fun was that the badge from the Blue Team Village, and actually had the Raspberry Pi Zero W and a honeypot built onto it. So the amount of code and wireless detection that they had on this badge was absolutely kick ass. So letting it just sit there and listen to all the packets that were going on, and then you've got like the Wi-Fi watches that's got the de-author. This is the very early version of this guy. The de-author watch. And you can check to see if your stuff is getting attacked. So I'd usually have this on when somebody was doing the attack just to make sure, hey, we've got it up long enough for you to attack it, and then just turn it off. We're good. You got what you needed. Bye now.
The funniest one is I am de-authing is one of those ones like we can talk about more, but it's just a terrible thing, and I'm so glad like WPA3 fixes a lot of encapsulation, so like you can't just de-auth everyone, and I'm glad we're kind of moving towards that.
I mean, I travel everywhere I go. I have a Hack RF with me. I have alphas that I carry with me. I have the ham radio stuff. I have GPS spoofers. I mean, I have like an entire wireless bag that I carry around. Anytime I leave my apartment, my backpack pretty much goes with me, and it has all of my gear to survive technically for like years. I would starve to death well before then, but that's what my bug out bag is pretty much hostile takeovers of random governments around the world.
Forget the granola bars. Bring the Wi-Fi adapters. I don't bring a lot of Wi-Fi with me. I mean, unless if I'm competing in a competition I know might have Wi-Fi, I'll bring it. But DEF CON, I have not brought Wi-Fi stuff with me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like because most competitions have abandoned doing anything over Wi-Fi because it's just a mess. Wi-Fi at DEF CON is a mess. Like even like because every badge is putting it up, every phone. Like I never even believed Wi-Fi interference was a thing. Like when when you set up your home network, you're like, oh my goodness, I might have overlap with someone else's channel. Like it doesn't. None of that matters. You go to DEF CON, it's like you have 30,000. Everyone has like 5 devices, so you're at like 150,000 devices in like one warehouse. Like nothing connects.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I mean, like the newer stuff, I think does a better job. But I remember when you would have, I don't know, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago, even just the DEF CON Wi-Fi was unreliable. It's gotten much more reliable in recent years, and so yeah, I don't think. I joke about connecting to random Wi-Fi stuff with my phone. No, I don't do that at DEF CON. But it's definitely, I've had times where I'll have connected to somebody's access point and I forget to delete it on the way out. But I mean, since DEF CON's standard Wi-Fi connection has gotten pretty stable. I just don't use anything else at this point. Just put a software VPN on it and good.
Yeah, I mean, it is remarkably fast. Well, look at it this way. This past year, I was uploading HD 4K videos, and Knock offered me a hard line, like where I could go and upload. I used the Wi-Fi the entire time to upload all the videos that went live during Defcon. Were all over Wi-Fi. And something to be said about connecting to random Wi-Fi access points. Like, it's not as, like, again, this is not advice, but at the same time, it's not that dangerous. Like, it's no different than a coffee house for the most part. Like, standard security, have your software firewall turned on. Don't accept incoming connections. Don't accept, like, bad SSL certificates. Like, you'll be fine. It's Vegas and it's DEF CON and it's probably fine. But for the most part, if you connect to one, it's not like all of a sudden you're like, oh, my computer's infected. It's okay. Just go connect to the secure Wi-Fi.
Connect to the Wi-Fi, then connect to a VPN and tunnel all of your traffic very, 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 very far away.
Well, that's one nice thing about WireGuard too, is it's on demand. So like you can say when I connect and it's not these 3 Wi-Fis, immediately kick it on. I really love the WireGuard client for that. Sorry, Gulo, keep going.
So there was a talk, oh god, probably a decade ago now because I'm old. There's a BGP hacking talk that they did at DEF CON, and these guys went on stage and they started giving their talk about BGP hacks, and they were getting heckled by people. It's not plausible and all this other stuff. And they said, we rerouted all of the DEF CON traffic through our servers in New York, and we captured every single packet that flowed through this. They actually did the BGP hack at DEF CON and routed all of the DEF CON traffic for the weekend through their servers to capture everything they could. And they're like no one noticed.
It was DEF CON 16. I just found the link, and I'll drop it in the notes.
Okay, so 15 years ago. Son of a...
Hacking the internet using a BGP MT or man-in-the-middle attack at DEF CON 16.
Yep.
There's a link.
And they just took all of it. So you use a VPN. It's safe. Practice safe surfing. I even have, how many of you guys actually still carry around USB condoms?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I practice safe charging. It's a USB. They're called USB condoms. They don't have any data lines. They only have the power lines. So I only practice safe charging.
Yes. And if you see random chargers at DEF CON, bring your own, or absolutely plug in that. I go to the point where it's like I only bring my own charger, so I know, because now even with the cables that have the OMG cable built into them now, and it's like, oh, here's a spare cable. No, this is my cable. I don't trust your cable. Your cable is evil.
The kicker with so much of that, though, is like all of these things are known by many devices. So like even the OMG cable, like you still have to trust it. Like it still needs to, like it will pop up on your phone. Do you trust this? And that should immediately cue you in going like, wait, no. Why am I even getting prompted? I'm into power. So like, I think having like the what you call the USB condoms are awesome. I've never actually heard of them before. It makes perfect sense. But at the same time, like just because you plug into one of these things doesn't mean it's like, you're instantly hacked and exposed.
Right.
So
for the most part.
Another piece of advice, if you see some sketchy charger at DEF CON and you're like, there's no way in hell this is a commercial product, if you start taking it apart, the casino will try to arrest you because it was an actual commercial product that they paid money for.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a story there.
Oh, goodness.
I've been a card-carrying member of the EFF and ACLU ever since that day.
It sounds like you have a different story for a different renewal for each year, Gulo, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's incredible.
Well, yeah, when you run to their booth and you're like, hey, you'll be my lawyer if I've done something bad, correct? And they're like, yes. And I go, does that include anything I've done today if I sign up right now? even if it was like 20 minutes ago. And they're like, sure. And I'm like, cool. I got to get this filled out before they show up. Here's my money.
Here's my money.
I'll spin back to some hardware again, which is so you tend to, what I end up doing when I go to Defcon, if I'm bringing a ton of stuff, I have my check bag. I haven't checked in a very long time. Even this past year where I brought like a ton of camera equipment, I have that Peter Mckinnon ginormous bag. It is a ginormous bag, but that's where it held like the gimbal and all the lenses and the camera equipment. And last year I learned a ton of what I actually need and what was just extra to bring. But when I do check, tends to be even that I had. Where is it? There we go. I had the giant bag, and then I had like this small Peak Design bag. I threw again. I am a bag whore. I'm okay with this. I've acknowledged this. It's okay. But I would go with this when I was taking pictures or handheld video, and then I'd bring my bigger bag when I had to bring my laptop and everything else. What I found though is you tend to keep one bag upstairs and then one bag, like a smaller bag you carry with you, and then you carry stuff in your pockets. So kind of like the question I'm going to pose is, what do you carry in your pockets? What's your everyday carry type of thing at whether it's a conference or business or anything like that? What do you carry in your pockets? And then moving up to like, what do you carry in your smaller bag with you? And then what do you end up keeping in the big bag, which you might only carry once or twice during the day? Gator's like, my day has come, Trebek.
I'll have like my hotel keys. I'll have my little skeletal screwdriver, whatever, pocket knife, those pliers thing. And if I'm in Vegas, lots of singles and alcohol.
So that's a great point, Julo. When it comes to either a shot glass or a flask is in my back pocket typically. I go with my Leatherman Wave Black Edition. I love this thing to death. I think every PC technician should have one in their bag because it's got everything that you need. That's in part of my everyday carry that I carry in my backpack. RFID blocking wallet, an NFC blocking wallet as well as the front part is actually the Sparrow door bypass, which is kind of nice, as well as a couple lockpicks inside of that. You can do the ones that are like the collar. In the backpack, I've also got the Swike, which is actually a Kickstarter based lockpick that is a whole bunch of different lockpicks. I like to carry my Sparrow set, don't get me wrong, but it's bigger. When I'm trying to travel, I'm trying to go a little bit lighter, so I've been pretty happy with this. When it comes to keys, man, I get annoyed to hell with the just chinging and chunging, and I end up switching over to the key port a while ago. And this is the early generation key ports, but I ended up switching to where you go the smaller ones instead. And these are fantastic because not only do you not have to worry about the keys, you can also plug in a YubiKey, and you've got a YubiKey with you at all points in times to be able to log in with whatever. So between that, when I'm at DEF CON, I usually have one of these in my pocket as well because, you know, if you're hanging out with Gulo, you never know when you're going to need it. So you just always have one there.
That's a handcuff key for anyone who had seen it. Just Gulo might just randomly put you in handcuffs.
You never know.
Stories there.
I mean,
I don't put people in handcuffs.
Yeah, Black Halo is the one that put people in handcuffs, but Gulo might help you get there is the thing. So that and a thumb drive typically that's using Ventoy.
I find myself I don't really have a lot. I used to have a key port. I don't carry keys with me. Like even in my car, I have a key fob and then I have one house key. But even the house key I'm getting rid of because there's another lock I can use. So I carry.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, I've become a minimalist in recent years. Like, even at DEF CON, it'll be rare that you even see me walking around with a laptop. Like, I have my phone, I have my wallet, I got my keys, and that's pretty much about it. And it's not that, I guess it's mostly because I'm helping run things at this point, rather than engaging in those actual things. So, trying to be the lubricant, if you will, And I find that I fit that role better than I do the actual hands-on keyboard technician in a lot of these events. So yeah, I've become like, I used to have like a go bag with all the things I would need maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and since then, like, unless I'm running around with Silk carrying the camera, I don't even bring a backpack.
I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I've done a little bit of minimalist too. Here, Gulo, go, and then I'll jump in.
My bag weighs like 50 to 70 pounds. My backpack that you see me wear all conference. And the reason, once again, the reason you guys don't bring things is about the only thing I didn't have in my toolkit was a freaking urinal cake. We had to go find those. But they're like, hey, do you have glue? And I'm like, do you want hot glue? Do you want super glue? Do you want duct tape? What do you want? He's like, oh, do you have a hot glue gun? That'll work great.
I promptly use all of his hot glue.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because I think we talk about like lockpicks and certain ones like that. Again, if you are going to carry lockpicks, their tool has a list of U.S. laws. So if you're going to different states, check those before you bring them with me. I'm with Gowrie. I've gone minimalist. Now, with this past year at Defcon, I had to carry a lot more junk with me between camera equipment and lenses and swapping out. Again, but my goal is to become more minimalist. But even like my wallet, like here is my wallet. Like this is a great Craft and Lore. I love their stuff. It's like where my like all the leather watch band and all of that, like the leather. Oh, it's great. But they have this minimalist wallet, and it holds again the cards I need. But even that I can hold. These are not going to show up on camera. I will try though. Bogota. They're like two little Bogota picks.
Those
and
are beautiful.
These are the only ones I'll carry on me, but I have found myself, I have not used them in a remarkably long time. And the reason why isn't because of lack of needing picks. It's that anytime I need picks, I know I'll need them. Like, I've had to break into my parents' house far too many times. Or my brother will call me and saying, hey, I locked myself out of the car. I locked myself out of this. But even like car, I'm not going to pick a car. I'm going to bypass a car. I'm not going to pick a lock. I'm going to bump the lock if I can, if it is an anti-bump. But like my lock picks are like, here is like, it was like an old camera case. But you find like when you do your lock picking, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need maybe the bolt turner because it's an upside down weird deadbolt where you picked it the wrong way and you don't want to have to re-pick it the other way. So you use a bolt turner. I'm not going to carry that with me. Again, you have your lockpick set. And then like the things I recently got, which are just, they take up so much space in here. My room is going to be a mess after this. But I got a lot of the Leshy pick sets, which are really fun. They're really nice. I'll show one of these off. I probably should just make a video of these things. But they're really fun in the sense of they allow you to pick very accurately and decode at the same time. They're great, but they take up so much space. So my picks, I don't really use in my daily carry, but I carry them because they fit in my wallet. Other weird ones I bring is phone, wallet, and then the one weird one I've carried with me every day, anytime I leave, is AirPods. Like, it is so nice having a headset with me all the time, which is great. Like, I'm cooking. I want to listen to my audiobook or something like that. The only other one I bring is, it is not a defense thing. It is a knife, but it's not like, oh, I have a 2.5-inch blade. I'm gonna get, it's so, there's so much utility to a good knife, cutting cables, opening Amazon boxes. This is the mini Griptilian, really nice. Just got it. Very happy with it. But that's the only other exception. I have a knife I carry with me almost all the time because, again, Amazon boxes, opening up the turkey because, and I keep mine very clean. So I'll even use mine like, oh, I'm having an apple or something like that. I'll just cut it with it because
carve it up.
It is, I don't take care. I sharpen it, but if it gets dinged, if I use it to like, what was a weird one I used it to do? Like open a paint can, like, and if it gets broken or the tip gets busted or anything like that, it's like, fine, I'll replace it because that's the only one I kind of beat the snot out of.
So I'll agree with you there. My previous, when I was still working countertops and cabinets, I used to carry a knife all the time, and my favorite brand was the CRKT. and love those things. They are built hell for stout. I've switched back and forth between carrying a knife. This one I'm currently doing is the Klein tool because it's actually got the wire strippers built into the side of the blade, which is kind of cool. Otherwise, I've gone through and done a tactical pen instead because you got that space pen fisher that's inside, so you can write freaking anywhere. So depending on the situation, I have one of the two in my backpack. If I'm flying, obviously, that's not going on the plane.
Yeah.
And if I'm going long distances, I've got my Leatherman, which is sometimes a toss-up of being able to get on the plane versus you just going. So usually I'm bringing my pen with me instead.
I normally, even if I can bring a knife, like Defcon, I don't have a knife on me. I don't even have a Leatherman tool. The reason why is kind of a weird one to me. So like, there's a really weird rule in Michigan. Again, this is going to go down a rabbit hole, and then apathy, I'll get to your question. There's a really weird rule. You are not allowed to carry a knife in Michigan if you are intent on committing a felony. It's so weird to me. Like, it's considered a weapon, but it makes sense when it comes down to it, because if you and then we're going to give you 5 years for robbery or armed robbery. Oh, but you also have a knife on you, so that's going to add 3 years. So it's usually and also we're going to combine it. So in Defcon, not that I do anything illegal or anything like that, but any of that stuff you carry can increase any extra stuff, we'll say. But again,
this is actually
no.
This is actually the way lockpicks work as well. So if you're let's say you're I don't know, you're doing some urban exploration and you're somewhere you shouldn't be, maybe an abandoned place, but you're technically trespassing. If you get caught trespassing and the cops find picks on you, that's prima facie evidence of burglary, and they can just arrest you for burglary. They don't need anything else in some states. So, and then, you know, it's very similar. And so like knowing your local laws is really important.
So there's the link in the show notes for tool. Go ahead, Glow.
What one quick point before Apathy's question of Sook said he doesn't do anything illegal. I'm sorry, you hang out with me, you're an accessory.
This is being recorded for the record. Knowingly doing anything illegal. I
didn't admit to anything.
I have very little memory of any of that. I have one other item I carry with me on occasion. I need to get a smaller one, but if this I always have with me, even at Defcon and things like that, especially at night, is a good, stupidly powered flashlight. Like this, if you want to talk about like actual, like if we're going into defense and all of this like weird stuff, like how do you defend and whatnot, whatever's going on, if it's pitch black in Defcon and you shine like a giant light at them, like in their face, like trust me, it's gonna, a lot of it ends. But also just utility, like that's the main reason I do it, is utility. Having a flashlight at night is like super nice. Even like if we're going out to dinner or something like that, having a flashlight, a powerful one, is super nice. Going to the car, and yeah, that's the other weird kind of like one I bring.
There was one time when Gallery was kidnapped, and he was panicking, but I was just normal. I didn't even think that there was a problem or anything. I was just going along with it because I thought it was fun.
I panicked. I was like, Gulo, is this happening? Oh, I guess this is happening. Should we do something about it? No, I'm with Gulo. I'll be fine.
Is this when you met the universe?
Yes.
This was when our Uber driver kidnapped us. But so we're talking about lockpicks. One of the things, I carry my little South Ford with me. I have like a dozen of these, but this is usually in my pocket. I also carry the entire freaking basic tumbler set from Tool that I go through, and I just hold makeshift lockpicking classes. I get stopped at TSA and they're like, why do you have all of these locks? I'm like, oh, I teach lock picking. Would you like to learn? He's like, cool. Yeah, my break's in 10 minutes. I was like, yeah, I have an hour to kill before my flight. I'll sit down and walk you through how to pick locks, and I'll Yeah.
That is, by the way,
Right.
for anyone listening, that is the most gulo thing you will hear in on this call. Is like this is 100% why he is loved at Defcon, because this happens all the time. Oh, you don't know that? Let's sit down and I will teach you right now. It's just the most beautiful thing every time it happens. The problem is you never see him again because it just happens over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What's so I had a contract where I was installing hidden cameras in interrogation rooms. If you're ever arrested by the police and you're in an interrogation room, everything you are doing is being recorded, whether or not they say you're being recorded. So I was actually installing these cameras, and the doors locked from the outside, and the lieutenant at the time thought it would be funny to lock me in there, so he just closed the door and went to lunch. I just had my picks and happened to get out, and I started working on the next rooms. And when he came back from his lunch, he's like, "How did you get out?" Well, the door. He's like, "How'd you open the door?" Turn the handle. He's like, "But it was locked." I was like, "Oh yeah, I got lockpicks." And he's like, "You picked the lock in the interrogation room." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't want to be in there for an hour. You suck." And so I ended up teaching him lockpicking. He's like, "Do you think you can show me how to do that?" And like an hour later, he was picking like every lock that I had with me. And he's like, "This is really cool. Do you think you could hold a class for our SWAT team on this? Because they're really good at kicking in doors, but we kind of want to get in like stealthy sometimes." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I bought a bunch of gear and I held a like 2-day class on lockpicking for a SWAT team and walked them all through it, showed them things. We went onto the field, we tested different things. And that was a contract that when they asked me to do that, I was like, this isn't part of my normal contract. We'll set up something new. And I asked for them to walk me through their SWAT's gun handling, gun safety, and their training course that they go through. I was like, "You guys spend a day or two of the course with me, and I'll walk you through lockpicking. I'll teach you breaching of buildings, how to identify based on construction buildings, whether there's like basements or attics or those different types of things." And so I spent it was like 2 days lockpicking and then a day with standard like building architecture stuff. And then they spent the weekend with me out on the course. And I had a freaking blast, and I learned a ton of crap that I didn't know. And it was totally worth it.
Yeah, it's like
Nice.
it is interesting. Like I had there's a newsletter I did which was talking about saying yes to like, again, talking about when to say yes, when to say no. And if you read it, I liked it. There's a link to sign up to the newsletter if you want, if you're interested in hearing my random junk. What's interesting about it though is saying yes opens up opportunities. At a certain point, you really have to say no because you have too many opportunities taking your time. But what Gulo described is like he's saying yes to any one of these things opens up some just crazy doors. And at DEFCON, it happens all like not. I know we talk about DEFCON a lot. It is a huge thing for us. We really enjoy it. But saying yes at DEFCON consistently often opens up doors that you're not seeing. Going to Apathy's question was, where was it? Here we go. Do you have a recommendation for for a backpack? Because the one I use for YouTube videos, it is stupidly expensive. It is stupidly expensive. I got a massive discount on it. It is a very heavy bag. I would not recommend this bag. I'll try and get it up on camera. Hold on.
Please hold while the next available staff member brings up this item.
Oh my gosh, it's so stupid.
Corner
heavy.
one.
It is a very heavy bag. This is the Peter Mckinnon bag. It's very nice. What I like about it is the interior space. Like, this is massively protected. There's this huge thick wire that goes through it. Like, I can put my camera and laptop and all of my lenses in here and know they're not going to be like hit. I also really like it because it stands up. However, this is not the bag I actually did for DEFCON for years and years and years. I know, I have so much crap just like all over here.
No. Praxis's comment of what you said, it's got to be clipped. Somebody's got to go clip it.
No. Oh, did I really say that? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Yes, you did.
horrible. It's right there. Oh, thank you for that. You know what?
I think Praxius asked earlier, does anything walk away? Have we ever had stuff walk off? Specifically, I guess, at Defcon.
We'll jump to that. I'll cover my bag, and then I think that is a very good question. The bag I actually travel with for years, like years and years and years, and I love, is not a technical bag. It's by a company called Redox. It's this one. It's called an Air Boss. There's no wheels. There's no protection. The whole thing is like, because I have like some packing crap in here, but like the whole thing's super soft. It's compressible and it's great. What I love about it is it's very simple. Again, I'm not trying to, not a sponsor or anything like that. Like this bright red interior, so you can't lose anything in it. But what I like is everything's like over-engineered. You have these like huge like grabber things. But the best part is the middle of the bag. Get rid of packing cubes are a beautiful thing. But the middle of the bag is really just like this open space with this big thick padding on both sides. So what I could do, I'm going to just like chuck this across the room now. What I could do is you have the outside for all your clothes and whatnot. And in the middle, you can lay like a sweatshirt at the bottom. That's a weird one you bring to Vegas, by the way. If you're packing for Vegas, Vegas is stupidly hot. The hotels are stupidly cold, especially when everyone leaves the conference space. But you put a sweatshirt at the bottom, and then in the middle, you can throw your laptop, another bag, a laptop bag, a soft one of those like string backpacks. You can put one of those in there, which you can throw your laptop in. But I love this bag because there's zero bells and whistles. You don't lose anything in it. It doesn't have like a backpack with like a billion pockets in it. So it's Airboss by Redox. I really like that bag. But again, it's made for, if it's a heavy bag, it's made to be carried on, like a one-man bag or a one-bag thing. Hopefully that answers your question. That's what I did for a while.
I was a huge fan of the bags of holdings until when they were going on travel. So love Think Geek, love their gear. Their quality started going down, unfortunately, when you're traveling a lot with them. Like the snaps ended up breaking for the strap holder, right? So I ended up switching over to this guy, which I put into the link. And I'm also a big fan of the bright colored inside because you can easily find your gear. And all of a sudden, my network is deciding to be all choppy, which is awesome. But the bright color inside makes it easy for you to be able to identify things, which is great. And then you're able to go in and have a couple different layers. The reason why I like this bag, to be honest with you, you can not only have multiple laptops, but at the very bottom, you've got this expandable spot for larger charging cables and ports. So that's where I have like my headset that I carry with me and my power strip. We're always talking about bringing power strips to Defcon. I always have a power strip with me wherever I go to where I can go plug in multiples and then another large battery bank down there. So, yeah, that's what I got.
I think
very much fan of
it's going to take you, if you're looking for a bag.
Bags.
Oh, cool. If you're looking for a bag, you're going to have to go through like 3 or 4 bags before you find something you like. I mean, or at least for me, it took me like 4 or 5 bags to find one where I'm like, ooh, I like this. And then I kind of have a bag, like this is my business travel bag. This is the one I travel to DEF CON with. But it's also like, as I said, I am a bag whore. I'm going to be buying another bag because I'm planning on checking luggage for DEF CON this next year. So like, I
usually use OGOs for everything, but when I finally found mine, I actually branded mine so that if you steal my bag, I will find you. But the question about whether or not things walk off at DEF CON, yes, they're the stupid small things that walk away. So I lose a lot of my miniature lockpicks. I lose tweezers all the time. I've never lost my Skeletool, but I'll lose like any of the snips that I have. I lose any of like my electronics rulers that I carry around. And I don't necessarily think people are like grabbing them for the sake of stealing them, because they're always the little tiny stupid things that are like $1 and it doesn't really matter if they disappear. It's just annoying that they disappear and somebody might walk away with them. It gets moved to another table. Somebody borrows it and it just never makes its way back. But I also take, the tools that I take and the cases that I carry around with me, I will have several thousands of dollars worth of gear, if not tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear with me at Defcon. And yeah, there will be that one asshole that will try to steal things, but no one's going to really walk around and take those things. That's not what the community is about. If somebody picks your pocket, they'll usually put a business card in your pocket, inside your wallet, and put your wallet back. They may take some of your cash, like a couple of bucks or something like that, but it's not. All the years I've been going, I've never had an issue of actually just being robbed, of having things stolen with the expectation that somebody did it purposefully and I will never see it again.
Yeah, it is.
It is
think. Oh, go on, go.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm trying to think, and this might actually be a question for Sky Aria and our other good friends as to how common theft is at DEF CON in general. Because I feel like I've never heard, I'm sure it happens, but I can't say that I've ever heard of anyone, in my personal circle having something like a backpack having walked away. Like I've seen that happen at like Magic the Gathering conferences and major tournaments. Usually a backpack walks away like once a tournament, but I can't say I've ever heard of that happening at DEF CON myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very good point of, we're at a security conference. You're going to a conference for hackers. So yes, we're going to be paying a little bit more attention. We're more paranoid than others, but we're not necessarily doing anything dumb other than getting blackout drunk most of the time. But for the most part, people are good people. And at the conference, if somebody sees if somebody else sees you're being robbed, they're going to say something, and everyone in the conference is going to start hunting that person down. It's just not something that you do there.
Yeah. Here's the thing. The industry is so small that you would be an idiot to go to a place like DEF CON and try to steal stuff. You'll never work in the industry again if you get caught.
Right.
Because you get strung up, you'll have that, everyone's going to do a background check on you. They're going to find that you went and tried to steal stuff from people at a security conference, and you'll never get hired in the industry again. And so like you would have to be an idiot to do that. When I say the industry is small, I've been in the industry for 15 years. There are very few companies, sizable companies, not talking about startups, but there are very few sizable companies where I don't know someone at that company now.
Well, I got one weirder. You want to talk about how small the industry is? We have a couple job openings. One of them is for like a pen tester. The person who applied for it, we put a posting on offensive security forums, like in the OSCP, like anyone who has it can apply. So we put it there. Person applies, and I'm looking at the name, and it wasn't, I didn't recognize the name, but I recognized the school, and the school was out of Colorado, who I know a teacher there, and it was a student of that teacher, and the teacher knew the student, and actually said, oh yeah, he was a great student, really loved to learn, like he's come a long way, like, that is how small the industry is. He didn't apply because he knew me. He applied to a random security position on the internet, and it just so happened there's a connection. And that's not crazy. Like, it is a very small industry. The thing I wanted to mention on the theft is I think you're at a paranoid security conference. Most of us have pretty good security awareness. I have not heard of anything major getting stolen. I've heard of stupid people doing stupid things, like moving an ATM or something dumb like that. And like, it's stuff like that where it's not stealing, but it's still stupid. Something to remember, it's in Las Vegas, who they are already obnoxiously paranoid with their security. And then you're at a security conference and hacker, so they're already paranoid. But all that being said is you would have to be, just like Gowrie said, you'd have to be a special type of stupid to steal. The exception to there, and then I'll hand it to Gulo, who's like edging to go,
and then after Gulo,
is the hardware hacking village. A lot of stuff walks away at DEF CON. Now, I know vendor Garrett, who runs Hacker Warehouse, he has had stuff walk away too. Like, picks and stuff. In the vendor area, picks and locks do walk away on the display stuff. Like, people are dumb. The vendor or the contest area, though, is different. I think often, like, when snips and things walk away, often the tables get stupidly crowded. So they'll walk away with the stuff they need to work on their board and then set it down, put it in their bag, forget to bring it back, or they bring it to another table, or they bring it to the hardware hacking village, and that's where stuff just gets moved around. Gula, what were you going to say?
So as far as stealing things,
yeah, well, I mean, obviously, flags and conference paraphernalia aside, because the signs go missing every year. We were laughing because our goon friends were complaining last year that all of the DC-29 branded stuff hadn't gone missing at the end of the conference, because they're like, well, we can't reuse the DC-29 stuff for DC-30. Why isn't anyone stealing these? Like, they stopped short of saying that, but they all wanted to say it. They were like, why hasn't anyone stolen the floor decal yet? Damn it.
Yeah, because then they're like, now we have to take this stuff down. We don't want to take it down.
Yeah.
I have like a dozen of these signs, or these flags. I have floor decals. I have all kinds of stuff that I have acquired throughout my career at Defcon. But on the flip side, so we are a small industry, and everyone knows everyone else for the most part. But one of the things to think about is, if there's two sides of it. You're either stealing for utility, which that's like the social engineering village will occasionally have, or even the darknet will have challenges where it's like, hey, are you able to pickpocket something from this person? Or so is learning a tradecraft or learning a skill, or they're stealing it because you need money, you need to buy food, you need to do something. If you're in the utility one, then by all means, if you get caught, be sure that you have a decent alibi, or only work within the sections. Like when we do a darknet challenge of pickpocketing, there's certain people that you can target, and only target those people. And it's just for you to learn. And then, but if you're like hungry and you need money or sell something, talk with people at the conference. If you sit down with me and we're talking about something and we're super into it, and somebody's like, hey, I'm hungry, then let's all pack up and go to a restaurant and buy some food. If I'm sitting there and there's like 3 or 4 people around me, I will probably buy dinner for those 3 or 4 people. If it's a dozen people, screw you people, I'm not making money. But if it's a handful of people and I'm enjoying the conversations, I may pick up the bill and cover that. And you can also get internships and jobs and all kinds of other things from attending Defcon. If you need to steal for money, try doing it the legit way first, of interacting with people to find people that can help raise you up, rather than trying to screw people over.
I think Gula, the other thing to mention, and that, well, I'll mention one more thing and then I'll hand it to you, Gator, is something also to be noted at Defcon. It's a conference like any other. And something that happens, and this is actually an issue, this is why like Defcon looks at like everyone who has a badge. They're not necessarily even looking for hackers trying to sneak into the conference. They're looking for people off the street who are coming to check it out. And oftentimes you get people who aren't even part of the conference coming in, and not necessarily to steal, they're just trying to check it out too. But you also have like outside people coming in too. Gator?
So Gulo wants us to steal his heart before we steal his wallet. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to the community, there are people there wanting to help build you up. So just be positive, work with them, talk with them, communicate. The networking at Defcon is like one of the most important. Going back to the whole items being stolen, I've never seen that happen at Defcon up to this point in time. And to that point, a couple of years ago, somebody had put an old junker laptop inside of one of the chill out lounges and left a sign there saying, "This is an experiment for Defcon. If you really need it, steal me. But if you don't, I want to see how long this lasts." And I'm like, that's cool. Took a picture of it and went through. It stayed there the entire time. Nobody touched it. It may have got moved. It may have got jostled, but it was never stolen. So I'm like, usually when I was going early days, starting to help out with the Darknet contest, I was like, "Hey, Gulo, that's your handle, right? Can you watch my bag for me when I go to the restroom real quick?" Or other people would just bring their backpack with them, type of a deal. So you're never just leaving bags randomly around. Oop, go ahead, Gulo.
Yeah, never trust me. That was exactly how I got my boss detained in an international airport. Was she was like, "Here, watch my bag." Yeah. I won't steal anything. I may add some things to it that TSA won't like, but I won't steal anything.
So, something to add there too is most of these stories you're hearing, especially like grabbing signs or bags or even theft. Like you're talking, the four people on this call right now have all been going to Defcon for a very long time. All have connections with many goons, so we have a little bit more behind the scenes than other people. So like where these things get lifted from the table, most of this the general conference never sees. And these like anything we have heard are like minute stories from the past like 15 years. So that's one piece, and then the second piece is if you're going to. There is a very delicate balance between things you can take and are acceptable and big things you can do which are acceptable at the con, and then things that are absolutely illegal and you shouldn't do. Anything that touches like the casino or things like that. But like major things happen at the conference all the time. What was it? 15 hackers lifted up a car out of the car hacking village and started moving it through the conference center. And then finally goons are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they all just scatter. Like that's okay. But being at the conference a few years to like know what that balance is a little bit more difficult.
Usually I find, especially in the past few years, they're less worried about things walking off and more worried about things suddenly appearing, like a kiddie pool full of oatmeal.
Yeah. Yeah, things like, appearing is strange.
Oh, sheesh. And what's so funny about that is like just that's not even that big of things. But like when a full village just like shows up out of nowhere in a room that wasn't planned to be used, those are the ones where like no one even notices. It's just like too big, too much organization where it's like, what is this new village that no one's seen before here? Oh man, with that,
fine.
Oh, it'll be fine. It's fine. It's fine. Oh man, with that, we've covered a lot of travel stuff. Hopefully the cameras were a little. I mean, I don't know about you. I have crap everywhere here now.
Oh yeah.
So I will be packing up for the next 15 minutes. With that, Gator, parting thoughts.
So yeah, your everyday carry is important. What's in your bag gets what is most useful for you, right? It's not going to be the same for everybody. This is very specific to different folks because you have people who travel light, you have people who carry the rest when it comes to, hey, do we have this? Yes, we have this. We all have our roles, and that is the supporting role for me. With that, go love your hacker family.
Support healer.
Yes,
and
healing.
Yeah, that's funny. Support healer. Yeah, Gulo's a bard. He's got every tool he can imagine in his. Actually, was it a machinist maybe, or
machine?
Like trying to think.
I would say rogue. Are you kidding me? I think you would probably more the bard. He's
chaotic neutral.
Yeah, in that sense, like I'm actually trying to look what my travel gear is going to be for music now because I want a little like plug-in box for a microphone and like a lightweight microphone and stuff like that. So like I'm in the market, but now I'm in the market for different travel gear. I didn't think I would be looking for music travel gear versus hacker travel gear, but I've pretty much reduced my hacker travel gear to almost bare bones at this point. But yeah. So different strokes for different folks. But yeah, catch you guys all next week.
Yeah, Gulo.
Generally, my kit doesn't change. If you guys need tools and you see me roaming around anywhere in the planet, and you need something, flag me down. If I have it on me, I'll generally let you borrow it. Some things I will hover over you like an abused parent. That's like, no, that's mine. I don't want to lose it. But other things, I mean, if small things disappear, and you just have to accept it and move on. But yeah, if you find me at con and you're like, hey, I need a solder iron, I usually have, now I have like 6 solder irons I take with me and all the LEDs and electron, and I just have a ton of crap. So, yeah.
Oh man, I like this conversation. It was great. Thank you for joining. If every one of the topics we've been covering lately has been people coming up with them and sending it, please send me any topics you have. I would love to cover them, or we would love to cover them. This is a good one. There's a lot to cover. My most important part of my kit is absolutely my coffee gear. But with that, thanks for watching and hack on.